everyone, welcome once again to Gotham Discussions. I am Captain Logan, and this is Beware the Steve Baxi.
Hey everybody.
Steve, today we are talking about Red Hood, with the latest episode of Gotham, and why don't we go ahead and just get started right away with your opening statement, Steve. What did you think about this one? What did you think about the way they introduced the whole Red Hood idea? Go ahead.
So I like kind of what we're getting with the Red Hood stuff. I think it's strange. My best one, I'll just go ahead and do that first because that's kind of the lead-in for everything I've got, is I love the opening scene. I love everything from opening up to credit with the bank robbery.
Yeah.
That opening when he puts up the Red Hood and everyone's like, was I supposed to wear a hood thing? That felt really Quentin Tarantino to me. Like Django Unchained, that KKK scene. I thought that was funny. The guy who had the hood initially was fantastic. My dad watches this film that about 15 minutes into it, he always stops it because a main character dies. And he says the movie's just not good after that character dies. Just that first opening 15 minutes is what's awesome about it. And that's this for me. I think the first 5 minutes we get with that Red Hood guy, the guy initially puts on the mask and the guy's got all that charisma and kind of feels like a Joker without being forced into it, is just the best part of this whole episode.
Yeah.
It was a really bad idea in my mind to kill him off so quickly without getting to know him at all. Everything else just feels really strange and out of place, and I have no context for where any of this is going.
That's where I'm at.
Fish Mooney ripping her eyeball out. I didn't need to see that. I got her point. I just didn't need to see her scoop it out with a spoon. Or whatever she used. It was really strange. I don't like that we're doing the really weird campy thing of, his name is not an alias Dollmaker, it's this foreign-sounding Dollmaker. That's really dumb in my mind. The stuff with Bruce I like. As always, this show should just be young Bruce Wayne and Alfred having adventures, because their stuff is fantastic. The thing where he's learning to fight with Alfred's old friend, and where we eventually get to the end of that without her being shot, is really well acted, really well written, and it should have been more of the episode. Ultimately, what we get with the Red Hood stuff, and people just keep passing the torch, and people kept getting punished for having it like it's a curse, I think it's a cool idea. I just felt like it was a little bit underdeveloped since we never get to know any of the people that wear it.
Yep.
But that's basically all I had to say on the episode. I just feel like there's not a lot of context for any of the stuff going forward, and those things I really latched onto really just end here.
Yeah, Steve, I feel the same way you do about a lot of that. Where I'm at is where I've been for a long time with the show, and not to be a broken record, but the biggest... a lot of my big problems with the show week to week come from the fact that I think it's better at the one-and-done episodes than it is the overarching story stuff. So and you could still have like some of the Bruce and Alfred relationship stuff building as you're doing one-and-done stories, but when we're trying to fit all of these other subplots in constantly, where we get like another little snippet of the Cobblepot stuff, and we get another snippet of, a little more than a snippet, I guess, of the Fish Mooney stuff, it really kind of undermines what could have been a much more, as you said, well-developed villain plot, because the Red Hood stuff is really interesting, and I kind of enjoy the concept of, let's have a persona that is the villain, and all of these different people wear that hood, so there's not like a central antagonist. I'm even somewhat okay with not really knowing the people that wear it all that much. What bugged me more about it was that we are told that on the street people are starting to get intimidated by the hood and everything, and I didn't get to see that, and so that all felt like way too rushed. This is the same problem I'm having with some of these shows that spend so much time with flashback. The main narrative, just simply like what we're there for primarily, does not get enough screen time. And that was the problem that I had with the Scarecrow stuff. As great as that was, we could have spent more time on it. We were wasting time with other things. We've got like 5 or 6 subplots being jam-packed into this episode that are all, you know, moving forward as part of this big overarching story, and the problem is I'm interested in like less than half of them right now, or at least I'm, you know, excited about less than half of them. they got me more with the fish stuff this time. I was more okay with it. I can kind of see more of where it's going now. There's this thematic thing talking about what power is and how you keep control, and that control is all about sacrifice, and that that you have to know when to you have to be opportunistic and know what your leverage is. And I thought that was kind of interesting. We'll talk about the eyeball thing in a little bit, because that's actually part of a grander question I wanted to ask you. But let me mention a couple other things I really enjoyed about this episode. First of all, yay, Jeffrey Combs! Jeffrey Combs is one of my favorite actors ever, and it was so great to see him. I wrote immediately, yay, Jeffrey Combs is the Dollmaker, and then, oh wait, he's not the Dollmaker, he's the Dollmaker's henchman, but then maybe he is the Dollmaker? I got the sense that maybe he was pretending like the Dollmaker was out of town or something. I don't know how you cast Jeffrey Combs and then somebody else is the Dollmaker. Also, why is it? Because he just seems too perfect for that role. But the other question is, Steve, why are we making such a big deal out of the Dollmaker of all characters? He's mentioned really early on in the beginning of the season. One thing I'm actually really appreciating about all this, by the way, is that we're calling back to things that we set up early on, so it feels like there's more of a plan than I thought there was. That's good. But like, you get to Jeffrey Combs, and it's like, we're still keeping him in the background and making a big deal. Is that going to be some kind of bigger stunt casting thing? What's that going to be? And then I don't really trust that it's going to amount to anything, because they keep teasing us with things and then it's not really anything. With the Red Hood stuff, I appreciated that we're doing the Red Hood thing kind of the way Snyder is doing it, where you have all these people wearing red hoods, and you never know which one is whom and who the Joker is. And so the Red Hood thing, I'm sure eventually, you'll have like a Joker that will, like, whoever the Joker is, like, wore the Red Hood at some point. But like, there's all these different ones. So I think that's kind of cool. I really questioned, though, I gotta mention this real quick, at the end, Steve, that Gordon just leaves the hood on the ground.
Yeah.
What?
Then immediately someone picks it up, and they get that bank robbery idea in their head. It's a really weird scene.
Isn't that bizarre? The other thing, too, is why would you want, after the first couple people die, why would you want that? Why would you want to wear it? Like you are a huge target now.
Yeah.
That just seems like
it's really strange.
A really bad idea. The whole identity thing of I put this on and now I'm more confident, I think is really cool. And I like that it comes from just like, a rag with some eye holes cut out of it. I mean, that's a cool idea, but I need more of a reason that it must be that hood.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that just would have been solved if, instead of cutting randomly for 2 minutes and checking with every character, we just developed the group that uses it and where it comes from and the person that initially wore it. Yep.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So anyway, I guess I'll do best moment, worst moment really quick. My favorite moment, sorry, let me get to that point in my notes, was actually Alfred's friend teaching Bruce how not to lose his cool. I really liked that scene.
Yeah, that scene was great.
That really shows that kid's range. Not everybody can pull that off, and I thought that was really impressive. I'm not real sure why he is training him, except as just a ruse to pretend like he has interest in these people, so that they won't suspect that he's going to steal all the stuff that he steals. Or maybe he's doing it because he kind of feels bad about it, so he's trying to like do something nice for Bruce and kind of Alfred, until he feels like he has to stab Alfred. So I don't know. Yeah. I questioned it, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pretend like it's going to be anything bigger than it is, but at the very least, I love the idea, or at least the way that it's played, that the guy training Bruce isn't treating him like a kid at all. He's bending down, he's making sure he's got eye contact, and he's doing it just because Bruce is physically a kid. But the way he's teaching him, the way how rough he's being with him, he doesn't see Bruce as a child. And whether that was on purpose or not, it was there in the performance.
Yeah, and you got a sense that it was because of his background in the military and all that he's hardened and he feels that way, and he's got this this attitude of you have to do whatever it takes to survive no matter what. And then of course that philosophy is played out at the end when we find out why he's really there, and that he's doing it for himself. Is it desperation? I guess I either don't remember or never got a sense of what exactly he was after.
Yeah, he gets paid for what he does by the end of it. Although I still sort of question it, because he was so shady to the point where I'm not even sure where the lines blur between his job and what he really wants.
Yeah. Yeah, because he acted like, because he even says, Bruce is a good kid, you should leave him alone, and he clearly, doesn't want whatever horrible thing the board might have planned for him to happen, but he felt like he had to do that for his own good. I think that could have been maybe fleshed out better, or maybe we'll get more with him and it doesn't matter right now. I don't know. This kind of thing is hard to talk about week to week sometimes. I have a couple of worst moments. One of them, again, is that Gordon and Bullock leave the hood. Penguin is too sophisticated to say the word duh.
I love that you needed to mention that. That's hilarious.
I don't like that. I just want to throw that out there. He's like, duh. I'm like, no.
Well, I guess, to be fair, I like the whole plot of Penguin losing his supply of alcohol. That feels really Sopranos to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's go ahead and go to some other things. I'm interested in the Butch thing because it's not playing the way I thought it would. I thought Butch was kind of reprogrammed and didn't have his own personality anymore. And so, what is it like? He's still totally himself, but then if Falcone or Zaz walks in and starts telling him to do things, he turns into a robot. Is that what it is?
I'm not really sure, because he talks as if he remembers Fish Mooney. He does stuff that clearly he had to have some sort of experience or recollection to do. And it doesn't feel like he's just a dog that gets command whenever his master whistles. It's really strange, and it's like what I said earlier, where if this was any other person and not a recurring guest star, but they would have just killed him. And clearly this is being overcomplicated to do something with him later down the line. Yeah. I didn't trust it to begin with, and I think this is almost confirming it, because it feels really inconsistent in how he's programmed.
There was a part of me that was kind of thought it was cool that we were taking this kind of throwaway henchman and doing something with him, but I'm with you. It does seem a little bit overly complicated now. Divot22 says that it's clear Reg was in trouble. Now that he says that, I remember a mention of that at the end. I just don't remember exactly what it was. And as I said, I think it's there, and I just don't remember exactly what it was. I watched this the one time. Okay.
To be fair, the Alfred Bruce stuff was a little bit denser than what we usually get.
Yep. Yeah. I want to talk about the fish stepping on her own eyeball thing, because, as I said, I liked thematically how that was playing, and if we start doing more kind of parallels with her and other characters and stuff, and especially depending on what we ended up doing with her at the end of the season, in what I'm sure will inevitably be her trying to kind of take back Falcone's empire and that kind of thing, it could all culminate into something really interesting. I did with that scene find myself more interested in her than I have been in a long time. I'm getting much more of a sense of what her philosophy is, and I think that could be really interesting in compared to just how Gotham works on the whole. I actually think right now she might kind of be the personification of Gotham, of what it takes to survive the way Gotham is right now, and I like all of that. My question to you, Steve, I don't have any names right now about this, but I've had a couple people that have sent us messages and said that we take this show too seriously, and that it is more like dark satire than it is anything, and that it's not meant to be really a regular drama. Like we've talked about that it's stylized, but we've also said that it seems to take itself too seriously, and we're being and that it's kind of inconsistent with characterization and stuff. And people are saying, a couple people are telling us that even with barber scenes and things like that we should loosen up on it and look at it for what it is. It's really just a jokey but dark and bleak-looking satire making fun of comic book storytelling. What do you think about that?
I'm not above going back and watching the whole season with that mindset, but just immediately that doesn't really come to me. I get that we have certain episodes like that, like the goat thing, the goat episode with Bullock, written by the guy that created it. I'm losing my name for it. Spirit of the Goat. There we go.
Yeah.
Spirit of the Goat was like it a lot. Viper had that a lot. The Balloon Man had that.
The Balloon Man.
And clearly, opening wise, I can see where that's from. But it's playing really fast and loose with that, if that's the case. Because if we just look at the Barbara scene in this episode, she shows up. Suddenly, she's friends with Selena and Ivy for reasons, and now she's all dark and scowly for reasons. And If they're doing that to make us understand that her character is that she's a terrible character and that's the joke,
yeah,
okay, but then play those scenes in that way. Don't make it give these really weird, bizarre tone shifts and make us feel sorry for the fact that she's not with Gordon anymore, or make us feel like it's threatening when she does stuff like that. Because if that's their idea, they're clearly not directing it that way.
Yeah, she's not over the top enough if I'm supposed to enjoy how obnoxious she is. If that makes any sense. There are scenes where she does seem incredibly over the top, but I can't tell if that's coming from a place. I just think it's lacking in communication. I don't think that it knows that it's communicating its intentions very well a lot of the time. Because let's talk about this with Barbara in this episode. I was completely blindsided when you had the whole superficial use your beauty to your advantage thing, and then Kat says, how's that worked out for you? And it's a total slap in the face to her. And I'm like, oh, suddenly the show knows who she is? What? Like, I actually really liked that moment a lot, somewhat because it was, it was a little bit cathartic for me. But like, I couldn't believe they went there, and. Like, we're using Barbara to further develop Kat's character and give me a better sense of her? Like, that actually worked? That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I like the stuff we get with Selena in that scene. It's, again, just the Barbara. I feel like this is one of those shows where if eventually they release, like, a script book, the scripts are going to be totally different than the episodes we're getting for certain scenes like that. It's really strange when you look at the way that thing is shot and the way the actress is playing that particular role, and it feels like it's coming out of completely left field.
Yeah.
But then clearly they're doing something with it, like you said with Selena. So it's got good consequences. It's just the way it's done is just really mediocre and really bizarre.
Let's go to some questions and comments, and we'll talk about some other things here. Johnny Torch says, the show is kind of hit and miss. Besides the Scarecrow two-parter, it's been dreadful since the mid-season break. I mostly agree with that, but at the same time, there's been a lot of, well, I don't know where it's going, so I have a hard time criticizing it or having an opinion of certain things. Like, I loved the scene where Penguin almost got crushed in the car. I thought that was fantastic. But a lot of that, like, black humor, dark satire stuff is, like, comes and goes. There's this weird ebb and flow thing. It's like, why isn't the whole show like that?
Yeah, I wonder if, well, like we were talking about with Agent Carter, maybe this thing was just designed to be like 8 episodes, 10 episodes, and they're forced to make it a much bigger thing because it got renewed so quickly.
We know that's true. And I should also mention that I'm not saying that you can't have any real dramatic narrative in a thing like that. I'm not saying that we can't, because like early on when there was all that like really dark satire stuff, but it was like a really like unrealistic kind of feel, but it had its but it to a point seemed to kind of have its own internal logic and felt believable within the context of its own universe. I cared about Bullock, I cared about Gordon to a degree. I cared about characters. In the context of the thing, you could even go as far as to say that it was somewhat of a melodrama. That can work when it knows what it is. I cared about, well, somewhat a melodrama. These are not straight up archetypes, though. They are trying to create characters that grow and change. So it is not quite that. It is not Sin City. But like even in something like Sin City, I care about certain characters, even though they're mostly just an archetype. It's got to know what it is. And it's lost sight of some of that. Because it got me with the Balloon Man really early on. And I was like, oh God, there's a good show here. And it's lost complete sight of that. Well, not complete. That's the problem, is that I can see resurgences of it.
Yeah, I mean, just to go back to the pilot. In the pilot, I think we all agree when we reviewed that with Dan News, is that it was just average, but it picked up afterwards. But the very final scene we had with Falcone first showing up and saying that he's depressed about the Wayne murders because they were pillars of the city,
yeah,
and now the crime doesn't work because there's no foundation for it. Like, there are ideas there. There's sick, contradictory, hypocritical philosophies there, and some of that's there. Some of that happens, like with the Scarecrow episode. There's a little bit of that weird, creepy satire stuff going on with Red Hood. But they just keep throwing in other random elements that are just regular Fox TV. And they don't fit, and I'm not sure which one we're supposed to be emphasizing with. sympathizing with it.
Let me ask you an interesting question, and maybe it'd be fun to take a poll. Of course, we can't with our audience, because our audience probably knows Batman for the most part, but I'd love to take a poll and find out if people who don't know Batman are still liking the show, because I could see this both ways. I could see, like, if you don't realize how many of the characters you're watching are just, like, not just, but a lot of it is kind of fan service, and look, we threw this guy in, and we threw this guy in, and we threw this guy in, would you, now, I don't think that that's the reason a lot of it's not working. Again, I think a lot of it is just inconsistent storytelling and not knowing what it is, but you know, for Batman fans, it's cool because we know these characters, and it's also not cool because we know these characters. What do you think, Steve?
I think we also talked about this a little bit early on, where when the show was hitting its stride with Balloon Man and Viper and Spirit of the Goat, it was taking really great liberties with the source material. It was being really different, and it was great in that respect. And we really wanted to do something crazy, like kill off Bruce Wayne or something early on. So we know that this is definitively a different direction, and you don't have to read the comics to get it.
Yeah.
And now, like we said before, it plays like fast and loose with that. I think if you're just a random TV viewer, the references aren't going to be as big of a problem for them as it is for us. But I think even with that mindset, there's going to be issues of they don't know what they're watching week to week. Scarecrow, whether you know the character or not, that's a brilliant character study.
Yeah.
And then you get the Greysons, and whether you know them or not, that's really shallow.
Yeah, I mean, just from a straight up, you know, narrative standpoint, you don't know where you stand with it a lot of the time. Let's answer a couple more questions and comments real quick. I got a few things here. James Howlett, Captain Logan, what would you do to wrap up the season? I don't know. I still really like the idea of potentially of a gang war between Penguin and Fish, because I'm liking Fish more now suddenly, kind of, I think. Maybe I am. I don't know. But maybe even like a Falcone versus Penguin thing somehow. I don't know how that happens, but I think that could be really interesting. As far as like the Bruce Wayne stuff, where would we want to see that character get to by the end of this and not go too far? Maybe this is a bad thing to say. I kind of think that it might be time to go ahead and drop him in the cave right at the end of the first season. I don't think it's too early to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that works. I think realistically, the way the show's building out, I think it's going to be exactly what you say. I think if I just got brought on to write the show and I got to do what I want with this, I would want the city to devolve into the gang war, make it worse than it's ever been, and then it gets so bad that Wayne Manor gets burned down and Alfred and Bruce leave to go train him on the other side of the world, leaving the city in the worst state it's ever been in, with their sole purpose of coming back and rectifying all of it. And then we just see Gordon deal with a hysterically dark comic book world, and you couldn't go any other way with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I still think it should be a hysterically dark comic book world right now, and it kind of is, but yeah, well, anyway. Let's see what else. That would be really interesting, though, if it was like, the show's called Gotham, but they're on the other side of the world, but we still are in Gotham, you know, much of the time. I still like the idea that we don't get to see the rest of the world. We have this really skewed vision of the world. That's one of my favorite things about the show, is that we never go anywhere.
We still don't use computers and cell phones and technology the way we do right now. It's still really kind of dated in that way.
Yeah, well, not dated, out of time. An amalgam of time periods. That is still one of the best things about the show. They got that right. I wish they had, and maybe they'll flesh it out next season, or I mean, like build more of it. I was going to say this earlier. I still see a little more of the mansion. That mansion is so quaint. I wish they had enough of a budget that they could have spent as much money on the mansion as they did the police station.
The police station has got a lot more character than the mansion. That's kind of strange.
And it's an inspired look for the police station. Let me see if there's some other things that I want to mention here. William Barcel, a Barbara spinoff? Anyone?
If it's like a Penelope Pitstop thing of every episode she gets kidnapped and is about to die, and then we lose it at the very end just to come back next week to see her get tortured again.
James Howlett says that this is not comic satire. Oh, wait. No, he says it is more satire, not comic satire. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Sorry. What else? What else? Mind the Gap. It is weird that the promos showed the Red Hood so much, and it ends this episode. Oh, like were there like mid-season promos or something that like used a lot of Red Hood, but it's just this one episode?
Oh, I didn't know that.
If that's
the
case,
the promos.
That's kind of funny. I also thought it was kind of. I meant to say this. I also thought it was kind of interesting that we got a Joker tease at the very end of last episode, and we're already doing Red Hood stuff this episode.
Yeah, that was a little bit strange in my mind. Now I just think, why didn't we just drop the Joker thing and then just do more stuff with the Red Hood gang? And I feel like it worked so much better when we got that initial guy with that weird Joker-esque laugh before he died. I thought that was a much better, much more subtle way to do it.
I thought he was really good. Now, I will say, I kind of enjoyed having my expectations completely shattered when he's just killed right away. I'm with you. I liked him. I think it's a credit to that actor and to the way it was written that we wanted more of that guy. I think that if they had had other people that were more charismatic, or at the very least just spent more time on it, we wouldn't have minded it. Because what I would have loved to have seen would have been almost his spirit seems to, like, possess everyone who puts that hood on. Like, everybody after that puts the hood on turns into that guy.
Yeah, almost, I keep mentioning this episode tonight for some reason. I guess it reminds me of it. But go back to like, the spirit of the goat thing. Of like,
yeah.
At the end, maybe there's like a hypnosis thing, but it feels like it's a possession all the way through.
Steve, it occurs to me that we have once again neglected trivia questions and things like that. Did you have any quotes for this episode?
I did not have any quotes, actually. I didn't think anything particularly stood out.
I liked it when Bullock opens the... More of that dark comedy stuff, when he opens the fridge and finds the body and drinks the Coke and says, "If I don't drink it, forensics will." I thought that was funny. I also liked when Bullock said, "Great, this bank hires communists." In the context of that scene, that was funny. I think the "That's So Bullock" line this week is after gunning down the last Red Hood, Bullock says, "I need a Danish." That was pretty good.
Bullock is pretty consistently well written with his clever quips.
Yeah, that's never changed. Real quick, yeah, that's the way. He's like Lex Luthor in Smallville. That's the one character they always get right.
That and Bruce.
Writing-wise. Let's go to trivia questions. Did you have a trivia question for this episode?
Yeah, mine's pretty simple. What issue of Batman or Detective Comics did Red Hood first appear in?
I don't know the answer to that. Now Red Hood is a Silver or a Golden Age character. How far back does he go?
He's very early Silver Age. He's right in that period of it's about to transition between the Gold to the Silver Age. It's late 40s, early 50s is the best I can say without giving away the answer, really. I
thought so, because, I mean, the Joker dropped in the vat of acid thing is Red Hood from the very beginning, right? Like, that's the classic pre-any kind of crisis version, as far as I know.
Yeah. It's always been, at least for Golden Age stuff, it's always been Joker was a master criminal as the Red Hood, and he gets disfigured afterwards.
My trivia question is a picture of a pair of what animals is hanging above the fireplace in Wayne Manor?
Nice, okay.
And let's go ahead real quick and do the answers to our trivia questions, since we are right at the end of the show and we're over time. I just forgot about trivia and thought we'd go ahead and do it, because I figured you probably wrote something. And I'd love to know that. How early is it, Steve?
It's in 1951 with Detective Comics 168.
Okay, cool. I wonder what that's worth.
Probably a decent amount. I've never actually seen a copy of it. I've never even seen anyone sell it. I would bet you'd get around like $500-600 for it. Maybe.
You said Detective?
Yeah, Detective 168.
Detective 168. Okay, I'm not seeing any on eBay that aren't CG Seed. There's a CG Seed that's going for $5,500.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't know it was going to be worth that much.
Yeah. Well, CG Seed, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, but that's interesting, because that's only a 5.5, and it's at 5,500. Wow.
Okay, so maybe I'm way off. Maybe it's worth a lot more.
Maybe it's worth a lot more. Yeah. Well, anyway, the answer to my question is, do you know the answer to my question, Steve?
I do not.
We see it in a lot of episodes, hanging right over the fireplace. There's a picture of 2 lions.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's really cool. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Because the guy according to New 52 continuity, the guy that ran the city before Falcone, when the Waynes were still alive, was called the Lion.
Oh, I bet that's a complete coincidence, but that's cool.
Probably so. That's a Batman Eternal thing, so that clearly they didn't plan it, but that's kind of cool that that's there.
Well, anyway, we're going to go ahead and sign off for Gotham Discussions, and we want to thank our live internet audience for helping us out and leaving some questions and comments and chatting with us, talking with us, and we want to thank you folks very much for watching as well. We'll see you again next week on Gotham Discussions. I'm Captain Logan, and this was Steve Baxi, and we'll see you next time.